Yeah, you can see the PPT.
See, in general, if you take any project, right, there is a project life cycle and there will be a number of teams involved. So there will be a QA team, exam development team, or the UI team, right? Multiple teams, IT team, then the build and release team, and number of teams. Some message. I'm unable to talk. Okay, no problem, Ibrahim. Okay. So if you see the traditional process or the what the process they used to follow, which is called waterfall model. The problem with the waterfall model was like it is always a bidirectional. Let's say you have a teams, multiple teams. So there was no proper coordination between the teams to start the project or to basically to coordinate between the teams. That was the major challenge, and that was causing a lot of delays in the project deliveries. Let's say you have a development team who will be completing the development activities, then it will be given to the QA, then it will go to the in between the build and release team will be there, then the configuration management team will be there. So there is no proper handshake between the teams. That was the major problem with the waterfall model. So then people started shifting to the agile practices, right? So even with the agile practices, there were some problems. Everything agile practices were okay, but problem was how to implement those process actually, right? So there is another problem which problems people started facing. See now, if you see, see, this is the I'll mainly talk about two teams. One is the development team, another one is the operations team. There are many other teams. Mainly, I will be focusing on these two teams with respect to the DevOps practices. Okay, so development team will do the development activities. There are again there are few teams who will give the prototypes, all those things. We'll talk about that in detail. Okay, so once they are done with their development activities, they will be given it to the operations team to deploy into the multiple environments. If you see in this picture, right? So by the time it reaches to the operations team, the thing whatever was working in the development environment may not work in the operations team. Operations team is nothing but who has deployed or will be deploying into the multiple stages like QA stage, development stage, pre-production or production stages. Okay. So here, what is the problem here, right? See, things will work properly in this development environment, but same thing may not work in the operations team or the QA environment. What could be the reason? So that is the biggest problem because there is no proper handshake between the teams. That's where the DevOps is playing the major role to create the proper handshake, basically to coordinate in a better way, right? So creating a proper handshake between development team and operations team is nothing but DevOps. Okay, in simple words, right? So what is the advantage of DevOps? It is like a continuous flow. See, development team will do the development, then immediately it will be given it to the operations team, which is like where many teams based on your project structure, all those things. So the feedback which the development team will get back is immediate. It is 24/7 which is available. Let's say developer checks in the code. I'll talk about what is check-in, what is commit, all those things. If you don't know, don't worry about it. Okay. I'll explain in detail. Don't worry. People, if you don't, I mean, who doesn't know what is all those things, right? Check-in commit is nothing but the development team, once they do the source code or the changes, right? Code changes, they will be saving their changes into some place that is nothing but a repository. Okay. So from that repository, automatically that using the DevOps practices and tools, we will auto pick the source code changes, whatever has been checked in or committed by the development teams, then automatically we'll do the build and it will go and deploy into the different environments. That is nothing but DevOps practices. Okay. So there are different phases in the DevOps. What are those phases? Like it will start from the planning. If you take any project, right, it will start from the planning stage. Once the planning is done, Basically the requirement gathering and what tools to use, when to release, all those things in the planning stage. Then that will be given it to the coding team. Once coding is done, then it will be given it to the build team. Once build is done, then it will be deployed into the testing environment. Once testing is completed successfully, or whatever the minimal test cases are which you have executed and successfully completed, then it will be ready to the integrated to the further stages, right? So then integration team will be there. Then they will deploy into the different environments. Then there will be operations team who will be managing all these things, basically infrastructure. So having all these things is fine, but sitting in front of the system and checking whether my build is completed or my test case is completed or executing one by one or whether my deployment has been completed successfully or not, that is another biggest headache. So to avoid that, we have so many monitoring tools. There are many monitoring tools, right? Which will take care of this job. Okay. So the monitoring tools will be monitoring this entire cycle and it will give you the proactive notifications. Let's say, for example, you have a system, right? So which will be like occupying by maybe 80%, 70%. But your capacity of the system is to manage. Take an example of your any sale, big billion sale or Amazon sales, right? So the Amazon or the Flipkart, they really doesn't know how many people are going to log in and they are going to purchase the things, right? That is, they cannot even expect that, right? So in that case, how can we handle it? Maybe your infrastructure will support a maximum of 1 crore logins, right? Or 1 lakh logins. But assume because your sales are so attractive, or offers are so attractive, so maybe 2-3 lakhs people are trying to log in now. What happens to your infrastructure? Obviously, you cannot handle the load. So it will break down. So your entire system is collapsed. So ultimately, your business is going to lose a lot of sales, right? A lot of orders. So in that case, how can we handle? So these monitoring tools, this is one of the examples. There are other techniques how they are handled in real time that I'll talk later. So these monitoring tools will be monitoring how many people are logging in and what is the resource utilization for every second or maybe second, every time basically. It is 24/7, right? We can define the threshold value. Maybe if as soon as my resource utilization reaches maybe a 70% or 75%, immediately you alert, send a notification to the respective team rather than waiting for the 100% completion, then reacting for the issue. Proactively, when it reaches 75%, immediately take some action and deploy more pods, right? Again, there is a auto deploy mechanism that we'll talk about later. So that is the big monitoring tools. And another scenario, if we take, right, assume if someone is trying to log in, a hacker basically, into your application. So your monitoring tool can alert you saying that there are so many unauthorized attempts which are happening into your application. So we can go and check who is that, from which IP is coming, all this information. So these monitoring tools will play the major role to analyze and fix the issues. Okay. Any issue? This is what the DevOps actually. Okay. So now, if people are already, I think, few already working in IT industry, right? Sorry, as a system admins. Now, if you see every day, day to day, there is a one big problem which most of the projects are facing. Any idea what is that problem? Entire world is facing that problem today, especially with the data banking domains.
Uh, yeah, hacking or intrusion or any kind of attacks or data security issues or data breaches.
Exactly. So the entire world is facing with the security problems, right? So there are so many attacks which are happening. One of the survey, uh, uh, as per that survey, right, at an average per day, there are 2,500 to 3,000 attacks are happening per day. Around 3,000 attacks per day which are happening, right? So even if if you are using the DevOps practices and you are delivering everything, but the biggest problem is delivering a secure application, right? That's where people are moving now from DevOps to DevSecOps, which is security is integrated between the development and operations. What does it mean? Integrating and implementing the security tools at the early stage itself, rather than realizing at the end, right? Okay, this is what my problem, security problems are there. So we need to react for that. So that will be sometimes what happens. Working for these kind of issues is much more costlier than developing a complete application or product. So that is the importance of security. That's why I'll be talking more in terms of security aspects. So if I'm saying this entire course will be in terms of DevSecOps, right? How to integrate the security tools and what are the different security tools which are available to integrate at the every stage of your DevOps model, right? So whatever I'm displaying here, right? This is right now, okay? It's a DevOps practices. In a high level, there will be a coding team, which is the development team. There is a build team, which is build and release and configuration managing team, then QA team, then delivery team, basically the deployment team. These are the high level, right? So integrating the security features. What kind of security features like threat modeling and design review at the coding phase itself, which is a security aspect, and static code analysis, right? There are a lot of code analysis tools are available, which are very, very useful for you to identify the all loopholes, basically, right? Basically, to identify the all the drawbacks of your project and fixing it in the early stages itself, right? In testing, again, there are multiple security tools. So integrating all these tools at every phase is nothing but DevSecOps. What is DevSecOps lifecycle? This is the DevSecOps lifecycle. Same thing, whatever. This, if you see this infinite, this is our DevOps practice. Starting from planning and designing, coding and testing and building, again testing after building, that batch basically all those things, then validate and more, then configure and deploy, then monitoring, right? Then detect and stabilize, analyze. This is a high level of your DevOps practices, DevOps model basically. So for this, in the starting itself, the planning stage itself, integrating the security, like what kind of security we can integrate, functional security requirements. Start with the planning of correcting or the what kind of tools we can integrate, where to integrate, when to scan, all those things in the planning stage itself, right? And at the design stage, managing the threat modeling. Likewise, every stage of DevOps has some security features, models, and tools which are very, very useful to integrate, and that will give you a clean reports basically, right? This is what example, if you take penetration testing or fuzzing, right? So which is very, very powerful. What is penetration testing? See, penetration testing is nothing but testing your application like a hacker. Okay. So there are, again, there is a tools. So for that you need to apply all few based on your project, again, what kind of project, what kind of development it has been back and all those things, right? So there are a lot of security features which are available today to integrate for the DevOps. That is nothing but DevSecOps. How part we'll talk about later. Is there any doubt as of now? I can explain in detail.
Oh, sorry. Uh, if none are going to talk, I have a small query to ask. So currently, is there any difference between DevOps and DevSecOps in the market? Because I was going through a few things which is pertaining regarding DevSecOps, and currently I don't see anywhere who's teaching about DevSecOps, and there is a specific path to reach to DevSecOps. So, do you think we can achieve DevSecOps in the same module of Azure DevOps?
See, is there any difference between DevOps and DevSecOps? Definitely, there is a difference in terms of the tools which we are going to use with the DevOps models. So integrating all the security tools definitely will help for your project to deliver a more secured application, right? And again, the question is, I will come back to your Azure DevOps. There is no difference. First, let us understand what are the challenges which we have with the DevOps and DevSecOps. Let's say, even if I say DevOps, consider that is DevSecOps. Okay. So,
Okay.
how can we overcome, or what is the best practices which are there in the Azure DevOps? That I'll talk. Okay. We'll cover even your Azure DevOps is Azure DevSecOps. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Because Azure DevOps has a lot of security tools which we can integrate, and we are going to integrate that also in this class session. Any other doubts? I think one, Monica, I think you are fresher, right? That's what you said. Monica or Kirtika? Someone. Kirtika.
So I have one doubt actually.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, this is Karthik here.
Yes, Karthik.
So all this DevSecOps tools and DevOps tools are there, no? So all these things are paid version. Do we need to, I mean, pay and see or?
No, there are so many tools which are available for free of cost, open source tools, right? So again, what is the limitation with the free source for few tools? Like may not be applicable for all the tools, right? There are so many. Most 70 to 80% of the tools are open source. Okay, so you can
Okay,
use for free of cost.
okay, okay.
But there are
And,
some
and,
limitations again in terms
sure,
of
sure.
feature.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Okay. One more note. I have joined late. Sorry for, I don't know if you have covered it. So we are going to cover only with Azure only, right? No, no, no. Azure and DevOps, right? That is
Yes, yes. Azure DevOps. Yes.
okay. And how is the market demand in future?
Market demand, the
How?
future is going to be for the DevOps and DevSecOps engineers. Even you can Google it,
Okay.
because these are the guys who are going to manage. It's kind of a centralized team who will be working with entire project members. It can be a development, it can be a QA, it can be a release engineers, right? So
Okay.
it's kind of a core team, right?
Okay. Got it. Got it. And one more question, probably I don't know if it's covered. How much coding will be there?
Coding part,
Yeah.
coding is not required. That is because of the tools which are available. That's what I'm going to talk when it comes to the Azure DevOps than DevOps, normal DevOps.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Why?
Sorry. Can
Why?
I?
Also, I'll cover that. And how
Okay.
can we overcome that challenge with respect to DevOps versus Azure DevOps? I'll cover
Okay.
that as
Sure. Sure.
Okay. And one more query here. So, if we learn Azure DevOps, will that be, I mean, same as AWS and GCP or Nutanix, any other cloud-based one, or will they differ from one provider to the other?
See, the first and most important thing for a DevOps guy, DevOps engineer, is the concept. Okay.
Yes.
Today, whatever is there. Take an example, version control tools.
Okay.
Do you know what is version control tool?
No.
So version control tool is nothing but, let's say you have, okay, let me explain. It is very, very important for a version control. That's why
Yes,
this is
you're
one.
saying like the generic tools will be same for. I mean, the concepts and generic tools will be same for all the providers. That's what I understood.
Most of them, right?
Okay.
Even if we take AWS, your a repository will be a Git example, GitHub,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Correct.
You take Azure, GitHub, like that. And deployment tools, there will be Ansible, Puppet, Chef. What is the difference? Maybe instead of ABC, there will be BCD. The concept is very, very important. Even if you are working for a single company, there will be a number of tools which will be using based on your project, within the project, right? Let's say BU1 will be using a particular tool. It all depends on what your project demands, right? What kind of tool will support. So As a Azure DevOps or DevOps engineer, you should more focus on the concepts. Then tools, learning tools will be nothing. Okay. Again, I'll talk how the Azure DevOps is going to be useful in that aspect. Any other doubts? I'll explain what is version control in detail. Don't worry.
So what time the class we are going to have regularly? Any plan?
It will be 8 to 9.
Okay.
We'll see the flexibility of will
Sure.
take.
It's going to be morning or evening?
As of now, we're evening sessions.
Okay.
Morning. That's what we can decide on that. Not an issue.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
So this is the DevSecOps lifecycle, right? So what is the advantage when compared to DevOps model? Somebody was asking, right? This is the advantage. Security is integrated at every stage. So by doing this, what is the advantage? Early detection, faster delivery, improved agility. And the most important thing is no costly rework. Ultimately, we'll be delivering the more secure application, right? So what are the different tools at DevOps and DevSecOps? So the first block is DevOps tools, and the second block is the security tools, which can be integrated at the different stages of DevOps. It's a source code. So you have version controls tools like GitHub, GitLab, right? Your Bitbucket and TeamForge. These are the few tools. I'm mainly focusing here the few tools. Again, in the market there are n number of tools, right? So don't worry about the tool, but more or less it will be the same concepts, right? If you take example of your CI/CD, Jenkins or Electric Cloud or Go or GitLab, right? Ultimate purpose is to run your jobs seamlessly using your CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery, right? And you can take Kubernetes or Docker and artifact server, Nexus or JFrog, because you need to save your images, all those things in one of the artifacts, right? And for production or the basically for the deployment, Ansible, Puppet, Chef. So we are going to cover whichever is going to use widely, and most of the projects which our tools are using will cover those tools in this session. Okay. Similarly, for monitoring like Jebex, Nagios, and Elasticsearch, these are the few tools, very few tools, right? There are so many tools. I'll maybe probably next session or next session I'll talk about that as well. What are the different tools available other than this? Why I'm covering this? These are the major tools, and most of the projects are using. Okay. And what are the different security tools? Like Fortify is one of the static code analysis, Coverity, right? And McAfee for all our vulnerability scanning, Pyramida. If you take any project, right? mm, there are so many open source components in every project. So how can we trust those open source components? Because that is coming from open source and there are so many contributors. We really don't know who is injecting what, right? So there is not a safe thing, right? Considering the security problems what we are facing now. So use kind of tools like Pyramida, which is mainly used for all our open source scanning, right? SonarQube. Like this, there are so many security tools which we are going to integrate for this practice. Now, if we see this is the DevOps and DevSecOps. What is the biggest problem with the general DevOps and DevSecOps is learning all these tools individually, and the another biggest headache is integrating all of them is our problem. You need to learn the tools and you need to integrate them because nothing is connected here. Your GitHub is different, entirely different, and this itself is a individual tool when compared to Jenkins. So Jenkins doesn't know what Git. So you need to work in between. You can use the plugins or you can use some coding, something, whatever is suitable for. Similarly for every stage, right? So your monitoring tool doesn't know what exactly is happening here. You need to write some coding here or the plugins or the Fortify, or you can say SonarQube, right? If you want to integrate here, you need to do your own homework here. You need to learn things, how to integrate, and the maintenance is the biggest headache again. If some change happens here again, that will impact here. So your SonarQube. Similarly, if something happened here, that might impact here. So this is the biggest challenge here. So you need to learn a lot of tools, and another two things is integrating and maintaining, right? This is the biggest problem with the DevOps and DevSecOps. So now, how can we overcome with the Azure DevOps? What is the advantage of Azure DevOps? So what is Azure DevOps first? Azure DevOps, formerly it was actually Visual Studio Team Force, right? VSTS, earlier it was called as VSTS, is a hosted suite of services providing development and collaboration tools for anyone who wants an enterprise-grade DevOps tool. What does it mean? The tools, whatever we have here, let it be a Jenkins or GitHub or Jenkins or Kubernetes, Docker or SonarQube or any of the monitoring tool, all these tools are integrated into a single product, right? And Azure DevOps is a software as a service. So they have bundled all these tools. Don't think that the names are same. There will be, but ultimately the purpose of this tool is taken care in a single software. Let's say, just to simplify, you have your what is it? Office 365, right? Microsoft Office. So what we get with the Microsoft Office, we get our Excel, we get our Outlook, we get our Word, we get our PowerPoint. Many things are bundled in that. I don't need to go and buy Excel alone or the Outlook alone, right? So similarly, what are the tools, whatever is required to fulfill this DevOps and DevSecOps practices, or right? So everything is bundled here. So that's how they are creating as a software as a service. It's a single service, right? Which is coming from the Microsoft, right? This is an end-to-end DevOps toolchain for developing and deploying softwares, right? This is the advantage of your Azure DevOps. Here, there are mainly 5 components, right? If you learn all these 5 components, that's all, your job is done. You can easily work on Azure DevOps. What are these 5 components? Azure boards. What is the advantage or use of Azure boards? Azure boards are nothing but a placeholder to monitor all the activities which are going on in your project, right? Azure boards delivers a suite of agile tools to support planning and tracking work, code defects and issues using Kanban board. There is something called Kanban board. If you take right, your agile practices are scrums, right? So you have tools like Zira, right, or Bugzilla or Bug Tracker to track all your this thing, and or maybe Excel, right? There are different places where people are tracking now. But in Azure DevOps, we have a single place where everything is integrated, and very important is everything is connected already. Then Azure Repos, which is again connected to boards. I'll show you practically, maybe next session. Okay. So which is Azure repos are nothing but repositories, and Azure pipelines, which are very powerful to write your CI/CD pipelines. Okay. And Azure test plans, even your test plans are integrated in Azure DevOps and Azure artifacts. You see here, see these tools. There's so many tools. Everything is covered here in these 5. Do one thing, make your life. Let me log in and show you. Again, in Azure DevOps, there are 2 things. One is the Azure portal and Azure DevOps. Azure portal is nothing but complete cloud environment. And Azure portal, which is mainly for the DevOps practices. In today's session, I'll try to cover overall, right? but in detail, we'll start from the actual sessions. So this is nothing but your DevOps portal, Azure DevOps portal. Okay. So this is again your Azure Cloud is different. We will be talking about both because ultimately you need to connect your DevOps to your cloud, right? So even deployments, everything will happen in cloud, right? So how can we connect from your DevOps portal to cloud? All those things we'll talk. So this is what I was talking about. Once you log into your dev.azure.com, I'll tell you how to log in, how to create accounts, all those things, free accounts, right? So assume you have an account. I have logged in now. So once you log in, this is nothing but my organization. I can create my new organization. Why do you want multiple organizations? Let's say you have a company. In your company, you may have BUs, right? Different BUs. For each BU, you may have to maintain different organizations, org level. So assume I have a organization created. Okay. Once I have created my organization, then I can create n number of projects in this organization. So I just create a project. Simple. Okay. So what is Azure DevOps then? Let's take an example of this project. See, I was talking about this. Dashboards, boards basically, boards, repos, pipelines, test plans, artifacts. What is there inside this? If you take boards, there are few things like work items, boards, backlogs, sprints, queries, delivery plans, analytical views. There are few options under boards. Similarly, you have few options under repos like commits, pushes, branches, tags, right? Pull requests, all those things. Similarly, under pipeline, you have something, right? And under test plan, you have something. Okay, artifacts, this is straightforward. Okay, so these are the 5 major components which will come for along with Azure DevOps. Along with this, there are 2 more things to learn. Project settings, teams, permissions, notifications, hooks, dashboards, project configuration. There are few items like this. Likewise, if you go to organization, you have few organization settings like projects, users, right? Usage, security, process. If we learn all these options, that's all. You are an Azure DevOps expert. Learning all these things, you will become an Azure DevOps engineer. Somebody was asking, right? Why coding coding is required for an engineer? Not required here because the beauty of Azure DevOps is the learning curve is very simple, very easy because there are a lot of predefined templates. For example, go to any project. If I want to write a CI/CD pipeline is nothing but taking care of things automatically. As soon as developer checks in, automatically my build should happen, my package should happen, it should go and deploy into whatever the environments you have defined as per your project. Generally, you need to sit and write a lot of coding for that. Here, what is the advantage? They have come up with a lot of predefined templates. Okay, example. Okay, I'm going to, there is again AML as well as classic. 2 types of pipelines are there. We'll talk about that. So see here, what version control tool you have, whether it is Azure Repogate or GitHub or GitHub Enterprise or Subversion or Bitbucket. Many things already are coming here. Did I integrate anything here? No, I did not. Then automatically all my repos are coming here. Repository, what is the repository? Under this, whatever the branches are there, just select, continue. Now, what kind of project you are working? Whether it is a .NET project or Android project or Azure Web App or Docker or Maven, what kind of project you are working? Assume I am working on .NET. Example, just say apply. Did I do anything here? My restore is done. If you know what .NET, the first thing is which will happen in for a .NET is a restore, then build, then test, then publish. From where am I getting all these things? I did not write any code here. This is coming from the predefined templates. Okay, just go, let's say build, select what build, what project you want to do and what. Just go and select, that's all. That doesn't mean, see, definitely learning scriptings like Python or anything definitely will be added advantage, but it is not mandatory. Without those things also, your work can be done. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'm just showing one example. Okay, if you are really or if you want to convert this into AML, again there is an option to convert to AML. The tool only will give the code. Okay, this is a simple example. Okay, so I'm coming back here. So these are the major components which we have. I'm talking about the same thing here. So I'll stop it here. If you have any questions, I'll take it. We will continue in next session. What is the life cycle of Azure DevOps? Okay, this is the life cycle. I'll talk about this in tomorrow's session. Don't think that Azure is coming from Microsoft, so it will support only the Microsoft tools. So even there is something called marketplace. You can just integrate. I'll show you that also. See here, there are a lot of plugins here. Somebody was asking, right, whether it is free or paid. See, everywhere you can see free. Example, one of the security tool which you are talking about is Sonar, right? Sonar is not from the Microsoft. Let me search. See here, Sonar Cube is there for free of cost. Sonar Cloud also is there for free of cost. Okay. So even the cross platforms, Azure is supporting to integrate. Forget about Sonar. The biggest competitor for Azure is AWS. Search for AWS. Even you can integrate AWS. Again, the beauty of this is this AWS toolkit is from Azure on AWS only, Amazon only. Integrate and start using. Let's say example, your project may be using all three platforms, your Azure, your GCP and AWS, right? There are customers, there will be customers for AWS, there will be customers for your Azure and GCP. So in that case, you can integrate and use it. Okay.
So, sorry to interrupt. So, for example, consider we have a specific application in Azure, and as you said, there might be multiple projects or multiple clients with us who are dealing with all the three major players in the market. So, if we have the similar kind of application in all the three AWS or Azure or be it GCP, do we have to integrate them from one provider to the other, or can we use the single one which we have in Azure to all of them?
See, so what I was trying to say is, assume you have a project.
Yes.
Okay. So how many repositories or version control systems you will use?
One.
One, right? Assume that is Azure DevOps portal. Okay. But that doesn't mean your source code is there in the Azure. That doesn't mean you should not have like AWS
Additional one.
deployment,
Yes.
GCP deployment,
Yes.
right? Your build, your source code, your packaging can happen in Azure, but
Yes.
your deployment has to happen in all three.
Yeah. Okay, then we can integrate. So we can integrate Azure one in AWS or GCP also.
Right. The deployment, you can use the respective plugin, whichever is suitable for your requirement, and
Required.
deploy it.
Yes, got it.
Because you are supporting on GCP, you no need to maintain another version control system in GCP.
GCP, yes, got it.
Any other questions?
So is this the end, or do you have anything else posted?
For today, I'll stop it here. Don't want to give too much of information so that
Yes, I get it. So if this is the end, I have one query. Maybe it would be helpful for others as well. So before starting with Azure DevOps, what are the prerequisites or the concepts we should be aware of? Or could you guide us what we need to be ready? Maybe like maybe basic concepts of cloud or whatever it is, just to jump into Azure DevOps before jumping into Azure DevOps.
for Azure DevOps point of view, if you know Linux or what is version control system, all those things, it will be added advantage. But don't worry at all. I will be teaching from the scratch, right? How a project is created with respect to development team. Though you are not a development team, I will start from the scratch. Let's say I will take one live project. Okay, assume a small project. I am not going to create a big project. What is the difference? What project I'm going to explain or in this entire course and your real-time project, the number of objects, size. You may be deploying 1 GB. I'll deploy maybe a 10 KB file. That's all. But
Okay.
everything remains same. Okay. I will teach from, assume you don't know anything.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll start from scratch.
From the scratch. Any other questions? You can ask in general, not specific to
So
subject.
after the class, do we get recordings to watch later, like that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. And how many days? I mean, we can complete this course. I mean, Azure DevOps. It
See,
takes.
I cannot commit on the days. Definitely, I can commit on the number of sessions, 40 to 45 sessions. So it
Okay.
depends. If we cover on weekend, it may cover early. They're covering only Monday to Friday, may take more days.
Okay.
So
Okay.
40 to 45 sessions.
Okay. Okay. And after that participation, we get some live projects, and with that we can easily,
This,
I mean,
this
have get some.
entire course is based on one live project, which is very small project again, entry.
Okay. Okay. And with that, we can go with saying that we have 2 years experience like that.
Yes, yes. Can you share course curriculum? Yeah. The admin people, whoever is contacted, I'll ask them to share. I'm not sure whether they are here. No, they are not here. I'll ask them to share. Okay. Because I don't have your contact details, so I'll ask them to share, or you can ask them whoever contacted you, Monica. They already have the content, course content. Yeah. Any other doubts?
Yeah, I have. I want to connect with you one-on-one if you don't mind.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
So I may stay here only
Okay.
after all your session is completed. So we will talk.
Sure. So any other doubts? Kirtika, I think you said you are fresher, right? So in tomorrow's session, I'll give you clear information. First of all, what is DevOps, what is Azure, or what is
Okay, sir.
a repository, all those things I'll explain in detail with the diagrams.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a small query. So
Yes.
does the yeah? So we have all the five concepts: Azure boards, repos, pipelines, test plan, and artifacts. So as you said that if we are good with these five major concepts, then we are good in the field. So just for a clarification, maybe another friend also asked about his 2 years of experience. If we can use 2 years of experience for this one, so the work stays the same for any years of experience, or do we have any difficulties if we go by increasing the number of years of experience on DevOps?
Charan, right? Charan,
Sure.
see, what happens, Azure DevOps is not a single role. Okay. I'll talk about this tomorrow, but just you asked me this question, this why I'm telling. Okay. So it is not a role, it is not a software, it is a process.
Yes.
Okay. If you are good in repository side or the version control system side, you may end up working more on only version control system side. If you are good at scripting, or maybe if you are good at deployment or CI/CDs, right? You may end up doing only on CI/CD work.
Okay.
If you are good at IT, you may end up deploying more your pods or the VMs based on your requirement again, or your Dockers, right?
Yes.
It's all depends on your project requirement. So
Yes.
based on the number of years of experience, if you use more, maybe you may have to guide the PT.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. Maybe maybe we may get some info once we dig into the concepts and maybe the project or explanation.
Right.
Got it?
See, if you ask me, seniority, it really doesn't matter. I know a 15 years guys and a 2 years guy both are doing same work.
Yes. Got it.
It depends again how in depth what information you are going to learn and what is your interest. It all depends on your interest, but ultimately the roles based on your role in DevOps.
Okay. We'll be getting the scenario-based questions and all these
Yes, yes.
things, right?
It's kind of live only. We'll talk about one web application we will develop starting from developing,
Yeah.
okay, and how to deploy end to end,
Yes.
how to create pipelines, how to enable CI/CD,
Okay.
how to put it in cloud, how to integrate your security tools. Assume you already have Jenkins, how to integrate Jenkins to Azure. We'll talk about all these things.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other doubts? Okay. If there are no doubts, then see you tomorrow. I'm not sure at what time they have confirmed for you. So if everybody is okay, please join at 8 o'clock. We'll start at 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Sir, uh,
Yes.
previous batches, in DevOps, how many members have selected in this institute?
In this institute, there
Like,
are many. Yeah.
nothing, sir. Tell me.
Okay. Okay. Any other doubts? If there are no doubts, you can leave. Someone was asking 1-to-1. Only they can stay back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.